Hey everybody, how's it going? Hope you're having a lovely day. Welcome to today's episode of How You're Being Effed. I'm your host, Louis Rossman. Admittedly, you're probably not the one getting effed by this because I'm just going to take a wild guess here that my audience and my primary demographic are not the type of people that spend $5,000 to $10,000 on a handbag. However, the principle here that is at play is a very important one to go over. Very often, I don't really see the negative qualities in myself until they are exhibited by another person that I come into contact with that exhibits that negative quality, but it's amplified by 50 or 100 times by the fact that they're really digging into it in a way that I don't. And when I see the negative qualities about myself amplified by 100 times in somebody else, it makes it easy for me to recognize that negative quality and then never take part in it again. Conversely, when it comes to arguments, I think the same thing happens. There are arguments made against independent repair, and I think once you see that argument turned on its face to the most ridiculous manner possible, it might help you to understand why these arguments are ridiculous and why it is important to not let them win in the public sphere of ideas and the battle of ideas. So this has to do with Louis Vuitton, and I'm going to talk about how this relates to my business soon. So this gentleman over here decided that he was going to cut up old, used, beat up Louis Vuitton handbags, and after he cut up the old used Louis Vuitton handbag, what he was doing is he was making wallets out of these handbags, and then he was removing the Louis Vuitton logo from everything I can tell. I watched the entire video. You tell me if I'm wrong. I can't see the Louis Vuitton logo anywhere here, and then he would put on his own logo. It's fairly obvious that this is not a Louis Vuitton product because of the way that the edges are painted and the general design of the actual wallet. It's very clearly not a Louis Vuitton product. However, Louis Vuitton decided to go after him and accuse him of counterfeiting, even though this does not actually resemble a real Louis Vuitton product. Typically, when you're talking about counterfeiting, you're talking about a handbag and then somebody else taking that handbag, trying to copy it so it looks as close as humanly possible, and then putting Louis Vuitton's logo on it to falsely represent to the customer that they are receiving a Louis Vuitton product when they are not. That is not what he is doing. He is putting his own logo on the product to represent it as a recreation, and he is not in any way, shape, or form hiding the ball about where the source material came from. So just like I repair Apple products, this guy bought a worn out thing and he tried to demonstrate the right to repurpose this product. Very similar to right to repair. Right to repurpose a used product is totally fine. He did nothing illegal. He bought and paid for his handbag, and after buying and paying for his handbag, he decided in his own home to do this, and more importantly, he showed other people on YouTube through his guides, here's how you can do the same thing. Here's how you can cut this up, and here's how you can create a beautiful wallet out of what was an old, beat-up, nasty handbag. What Louis Vuitton decided to do here was accuse him of counterfeiting, send a private investigator to his home to put a cease and desist on him to try and get him to stop doing this. Not only did they say that they did not want him doing this anymore because they tried to claim that it was illegal, but they also said that they don't want him showing people how to do this on YouTube. So not only are you not allowed to sell this product, you can't even buy a used handbag, and after purchasing the used handbag from a third party who's allowed to sell it to you in a legal transaction, show other people how to do your arts and crafts project on YouTube. Louis Vuitton was so triggered by somebody having an arts and crafts project on YouTube from which they removed their logo that they literally sent an investigator out to his home. Personally, I don't like when companies try to intimidate you into not being able to do what it is you have the right to do with what it is you bought and paid for. In this video over here, I'm going over an introductory phone call that I recorded from Kilpatrick and Townsend. This video. This is where I went over an introductory phone call that I received from Kilpatrick and Townsend. After I followed up with Kilpatrick and Townsend, after my store manager at the time informed me that Apple's primary law firm called me, they wanted me to remove a particular video that I had created. This video goes over how to replace a 0-ohm resistor that is acting as a fuse on an A1466 MacBook Air. On this motherboard, there is a 0-ohm resistor that goes between the 3.3 volt power supply and the trackpad and the keyboard. This is a sensible thing to do when you've created a laptop whose trackpad is not flush and, more importantly, has no liquid resistance, in spite of the fact that competing brands like IBM figured out how to make a liquid resistant laptop in this area over 15 years ago. Since there's no liquid resistance here, there is a 0-ohm resistor acting as a fuse that very often blows, and when it blows, you have no trackpad and no keyboard. I was showing you in this video how to fix this problem by locating the 0-ohm resistor based on a schematic and then replacing it, so that rather than pay $750 to $1,200 to replace your motherboard, you could bring this to my repair shop or a repair shop of your choosing, or do the repair yourself once you have all the information to do so. And they called and they wanted me to take down this particular video, which I did not take down. I suggested suggested they file a DMCA claim because I believed that I was doing nothing illegal by demonstrating to you how to fix your own product. The customer that brought me this motherboard consented to have me repair it. They did not steal that from an Apple store. They paid for this motherboard, they paid for this laptop, and paid full retail price, which I believe gives them the full right to do whatever it is they wish with that product. Now, Apple and Louis Vuitton have the same argument here. They don't like the idea of a product being out there in the wild that has their logo on it that is going to be misrepresented. Their idea is essentially that nobody should be allowed to repair their products outside the people that they say should be able to fix their products. You should not have the freedom to do that because your ability to do what you wish with what you own is not as important as a $3 trillion company's brand image. There are several reasons, in my opinion, that this argument falls flat. The first one is that your freedom to do what you want with your own property supersedes the brand image of the company. You have the right to do what you want with what you own, and your rights of ownership are more important than a manufacturer's brand image. Secondly, if you have a poor experience when you purchase a product or deal with an independent repair center, if that product has been said to be repaired, you're not going to hold the manufacturer accountable for that. If I go to a used car lot where the cars look kind of banged up and I get a car with a disc brake squeak, I'm not going to assume that Ford makes garbage cars, although that could be argued. I'm going to assume that the last owner of that F-150 didn't do proper maintenance or treated it poorly, or that the dealership selling it to me was not necessarily a reputable agent when reselling used vehicles. I'm not going to assume that all Ford is bad, nor do I imagine that most rational people would come to that assumption. The third reason that this is ridiculous is that Apple's own authorized repair centers often do horrible jobs of refurbishing their own products, which I went over in this video, The Horrible Truth About Apple's Repeated Engineering Failures, where I'm demonstrating just one example of them attempting to do good repairs on the 820-2915 motherboard that had a lot of graphics chip failures. Apple was not covering this under extended warranty, claiming that the problem was with the user until there was a class action lawsuit that factually demonstrated that this design was failing at a higher rate than other laptops and that Apple was screwing over their customers. After Apple was found to be screwing over their customers, they opened up an extended warranty repair program in order to settle the class action lawsuit where they would fix these for free. However, that was not a full repair. That wasn't a full solution here because, as you can see, when I'm demonstrating a board that I fix versus a board that they fix, you may notice that their board looks like complete garbage and my board does not, because I took the time to create a proper BGA rework profile, and I do not have people that make $7 an hour that don't care about their job because they're working under garbage conditions working on these products. I cannot pay people $100 an hour. People who work at my store don't make $120,000 to $150,000 a year, but I guarantee you the people that work at my store that work on boards make more money than they do doing this, and it shows in the quality of their work. The manufacturer will say that they don't want their brand image tarnished, but very often their brand image is tarnished more by them than anybody else as a result of their own repair practices and policies. You should have the right to do what you want with what you own, and the fact that Louis Vuitton actually felt empowered and emboldened to send a private investigator to this gentleman's home, not just mail something, have a private investigator go after him, create a fake Instagram account to try and track this dude down, really does demonstrate the degree to which modern manufacturers, modern companies, and larger companies feel emboldened to take away your rights of ownership. And I know a lot of the people in this channel are going to think, listen, he took a handbag or a purse. Who gives a shit about a handbag or a purse? Anybody that buys a Louis Vuitton handbag, they deserve to get ripped off anyway. They should buy a, $30 backpack or whatever else. And here's the thing, as I say in many of these videos, if you don't support the rights of somebody else when they're being taken away from them, they're not going to be supported when they're being taken away from you. And this is the same general concept here. Do you own what you bought and paid for? This man did not even make this purchase from the manufacturer, and they're trying to take away his rights of ownership. They even went so far as to say that if he had a receipt from the store, that they would go out of their way to ban him from their stores. Now, to be clear, they have the legal right to say, I don't want you in my store. They do not have the legal right to stop him from showing people how to take their product and convert it to a wallet. Nor do they have any right to say that he is counterfeiting when he is producing a product in a manner that you cannot purchase from Louis Vuitton themselves. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. That's it for today, and as always, I hope you learned something. This here is an LG G3 OLED television. This is in the menu of this television. If you go at any one of the default profiles and you go to privacy and terms, what you'll notice with the smart television is there's an option called do not sell my personal information. And because we live in a dystopian world, this option is not by default checked. It should be the default when you pay over $3,000 for a television that you do not sell my personal information. But even when you pay that much for a television, the default is that they will sell your personal data, which is why you should never connect connect a television to the internet, particularly when these televisions have microphones built into them that allow them to listen to what it is you say in your living room. There are many other settings hidden in here that talk about being able to see what it is you're watching or what you're doing, to be able to make recommendations to you and personalize advertisements to you if you browse around the television. And 100% of those options is the consumer unfriendly option, and the advertiser grabs your data, sells it, and uses it however they please option.